If you're one of those people who connect to public Wi-Fi a lot, but you're also concerned about privacy, then what I have in this box here may interest you. Hi everyone, my name is Robert Mizen and I make videos on beep beep stuff. So I'm going to cut to the chase and tell you in this box is a travel router. A GL.iNet Slate to be exact, a model that I've actually had in my possession for over a year, but haven't got around to reviewing yet or using daily because of COVID and travel, so awesome timing for that. But today we are actually going to look at this. Now, I bought this with my own money. Now I'm famously indecisive when it comes to buying hardware. I once took 3 months to buy a pair of headphones, so I spent a lot of time figuring out which kind of travel router I actually wanted to buy and use myself. Now there are 4 different criteria when I actually came to buying this. The first criteria was obviously weight. I don't want something that's going to weigh me down. I already have a lot of stuff in my backpack already. Secondly, the size. It had to be pretty small because I don't want it taking up lots of space in my already crowded backpack. The third thing is performance. Now, while this was really important, as long as it had decent enough speeds, it's not going to replicate my home lab speed, obviously, but if it had decent enough speed, I was going to be happy with it. As long as I could browse, if I could stream on YouTube at least at 720, I think that would be sufficient for most people. But the fourth item on that list is that the software must be trusted. Now, GL.iNet have their headquarters based in Hong Kong. They also have offices in the United States. Now, whilst the position of that company being based in China may raise some red flags, GL.iNet are one of the few companies that dedicate themselves to utilizing software called OpenWRT, which is a fully open source hardware firmware level based software, which is really popular in the home labbing community and lots of other communities, and is very famous for being able to run on very small devices, very small power devices. And because GL.iNet use this software, you can take any version of OpenWRT within the recent releases and flash this device with that version, with the fully open source version, with the telemetry and all the other stuff taken out. So the concern of the extra telemetry diagnostic data going backwards and forwards between the company was not a concern for me, and that is why I decided to purchase this router. So I'm going to unbox the router, we're going to set it up, we're going to run a test before and after of the speeds and how much it affects the speed of my internet connection. And then after that, I'm going to tell you why something like this would be important for some of you traveling, and then hopefully you get some really good information from this. So in my package came with some stickers. It came with a free case also, and the box with the actual router in it. Now there's going to be some basic setup guides and support stuff here. We're just going to quickly go past that for a second and actually just take a quick look at the device itself. And this is how big the device is. It is actually really small. It doesn't weigh very much. I'm going to be putting the specs on the screens so you can see what the specs are actually like. Inside the box, we actually get a power adapter, a micro USB cable, a Ethernet cable, I'm not sure what category this is, probably Cat 5 or 6 at least, as well as a bunch of adapters for the power adapter because the plug itself is default to American, but here we have a European plug and there's also a UK plug included in there as well. So now I'm on my iPad Pro here and we're going to run a speed test to see what kind of speeds we get from connecting to my local Wi-Fi. So I've got the test here. I'm going to hit go and we'll see what kind of connection we get. This is connecting to my local Wi-Fi from this, so the connection inside the apartment will be a lot better than trying to connect to a 4G outside. 9 down, 23 up. That's not too bad. So we're going to keep that to one side. And what we're going to do now is we are going to connect to GL.iNet Slate, and we're going to see what that is like with the connecting that to the Wi-Fi and see how much degradation we get in the signal by passing through the other router. And one thing we need to do now is we need to browse to the GL.iNet Slate, which is .8.1. That's the default. So now we are at the startup for their GL.iNet router. we come into the choose a language. I'm going to say English for that. I'm going to set a new admin password for myself so I can log in without the default. We're going to hit submit, and it should take me to the page. So here we have the login page for the GL.iNet router. We can see on the left hand side we have internet, wireless, clients, upgrade, firewall, VPN. Let's see what's in there. OpenWRT, WireGuard, Tor, internet kill switch. It's awesome. Applications, more settings. What we're going to do first is I'm just going to hit down here where it says repeater. I'm going to press on scan. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the slate to my local Wi-Fi. And then we are going to see what kind of connection speed we get performance dropping going through this. So now we are at the page here. I can see that I'm connected to my local Wi-Fi. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the speed test here. And we are going to run the speed test again and see what kind of connection speed we get. Now we had about 9 to 10 down more or less, and just over that in upload speed. So here we have about, I would say, half to 60% of the performance actually using a little GL slate. So that's basically perfectly fine for me. Looking at the settings here, we can set LAN IPs, time zones, we can do custom DNS servers, can do the firmware updates and stuff like that. So what I am going to be doing now is I'm going to flash this and I'm going to do all the settings for this as I will use it. And my plan is to come back to this in a couple of months' time after I've been using it daily to tell you what my experience is of using this device. But the interface is really super easy to use and it works perfectly fine. Like I said, I am going to use OpenWRT to change this to the full open source version of this, just to get rid of any random chattiness that goes back to GL.iNet. Yeah, so now I'm connected to that. The degradation, like I said, is about 40%. I think that's perfectly reasonable for most people. And now I have this little router to take with me everywhere. I have OpenWRT VPN also, so I can set that up in the VPN inside of here. I can go to the WireGuard client and server here. I can change to OpenWRT here, as you can see, especially when I've been in hotels. There's been some fairly dodgy places that I definitely don't trust the network, and being from a kind of network security background as well, and working and teaching in this space, it's not super difficult if you know how to perform various middlemen attack and actually snoop on network traffic, especially on unsecured public Wi-Fi, which is sadly more common than it should be. So if you travel to cafes, restaurants, any kind of hotel, stuff like that, if you're traveling a lot and you're using a lot of public Wi-Fi, look at the little router. It's so small. You could put this in your pocket, although that would be a weird place to put it, but you can put it in your backpack. It plugs in with a micro USB cable. You could use an outlet like plug in the wall, but since it can be powered, I could power it through this iPad Pro, and it uses so little power. So definitely, if you want a little companion that's going to protect you but looks like a tiny book with 2 little arms sticking out of it, that should be a pretty awesome little thing. I do like the fact that it's got Ethernet ports on it, so if I use my laptop, I can use that as well. So why would you need a travel router? If you're connecting to public Wi-Fi's a lot and traveling around, and you've got Wi-Fi's in hostels, in hotels, cafes, restaurants, and so on, the wide scale of security measures that are put in place, from my own experience, is quite vast, from really unsecure Wi-Fi connections to really secure Wi-Fi connections. Now, if you're using a lot of banking, logging into services that you actually rely on, if you're traveling around a lot, definitely some kind of travel router is going to add a massive level of protection for your devices, as well as the traffic that goes to and from them. Obviously, as mentioned in the specs, there are a lot of services you can use in a travel router that's going to aid in this, not just the VPN or the firewall, but also the DNS spoofing protection using Cloudflare, for example. So there are many other ways of protecting yourself whilst traveling, but definitely this is one of the best ways that you can use, one of the best methods you can use to protect yourself. Now, typically at the end of videos on channels on YouTube, we will typically engage in a kind of call to action, usually asking you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment, etc. Now, while this is really awesome and I hope that you do so, I want to use this opportunity to ask a question. How much are you actually using public Wi-Fi's? What kind of services are you using on them? Banking, sending messages to your friends and family, logging into services that contain data that you rely on all the time. Do you trust the companies that set up the Wi-Fi? In my personal opinion, when you're traveling around, you don't flash your credit card or debit card information, your banking detail information, you don't flash your passports or identity stuff. Privacy on the web is one of those things that for me fits in the same category as those things. There's a lot of sensitive information out there, and I'm a proponent and evangelist of taking control of your data. Now, this video is not going to go into the ethical implications or kind of any moral standing. It doesn't matter the position. I'm not going to go into detail on that. It's my personal opinion on that I think that people should take control of their data. If you are someone who wants to take control of your data, or you're concerned about privacy, or you want to create secure VPN tunnels to your services at home or to the office or to other people in your family or friends network, then something like this is going to help you a lot. So if you do value your privacy, then definitely something like this I can recommend. I of course can recommend this model in particular, but GL.iNet make a lot of other products, as well as other companies who also make some great products. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please do stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.